Well, hello. So before we talk about this week's activities, I have to give you the survey update. We did the transportation survey and we asked you, do you favor an increase in the gas tax was one question. The second question was, do you favor increase of half a cent in the sales tax to be dedicated to transit? Well, as usual, we're pretty divided in our district, but 61% did favor the gas tax increase and 52% favored the transit investment. So what I would say about that is, number one, people really do see a need for transportation investments, and also we really are a swing district. What they say about us is true. We are filled with people who are independently minded, and I always say it's just a privilege to represent a district like that because I think of myself in that same way. So the next thing I want to tell you about is the regent selection process. On Tuesday night, the Senate Higher Education Committee came together with the House Higher Education Committee, and by law, our assignment is to pass on a slate of candidates to the joint convention. We are supposed to pass on one candidate per congressional district where there's an opening. However, in this particular case, we weren't able to agree on just one candidate in two of the congressional districts, in both the 1st and the 3rd. You often would think, oh, there's a partisan divide or a geographic divide. That was not the case. The Senate, in both cases, picked one candidate and the House picked another. Those are deadlocks that are pretty hard to undo, and so there are standing joint rules that allowed us to be able to move, in those cases, 2 names forward. So the next step will be all coming together as a joint convention. I also wanted to add that there is no date set in law when that has to happen, and I have made a personal request of leadership that we wait to do that exercise until we have a chance to hear the legislative auditor's report on the Markinson case at the University of Minnesota. This is a case, dating back to 2004, and I have certainly talked about it before, but I think it's important before we talk about our future to be able to take a very good look at things that are outstanding in our past and be able to bring the administration to the table as well as the regents to say, let's answer these questions, let's understand what happened, and let's move forward after that. So I don't know if I will have that request honored, but wanted you to know that that's where I stood. So today we had a bill on the Senate floor that was the governor's deficiency bill. The deficiency bill, and every year there's a deficiency bill because between the end of last session and this session, there turns out to be things that were unforeseen where there's gaps in what we intended to appropriate. They're generally passed with no controversy. You hear them in finance and everybody agrees on them, and that's how they move through the system. However, this time there was some controversy because they were dealing with funding the governor's administration, and many folks were concerned about the recently announced raises for the governor's commissioners. So rather than have a prolonged discussion and conflict on the Senate floor with regard to that matter, when there were some things that were very crucial and important to the state of Minnesota, for example, within that bill was much needed funding for the St. Peter Hospital and for the hospitals that stepped up during the potential Ebola crisis when we had to be ready if there were cases here, and hospitals had incurred significant expense. So things like that were in this deficiency bill. So our majority leader just kind of took the controversial issue off the table. He put forward an amendment that said all the commissioners would be frozen now at last year's salary level, and that would last until the middle of July. In doing it till the middle of July, it allows the legislature to have hearings about it. And our majority leader, Senator Bach, actually promised that we would in fact do that. So I can tell you that all the members kind of breathed a sigh of relief because nobody really wanted this important bill to be held up with a very contentious discussion over commissioner salaries. So that, I don't know what the newspaper will report, but wanted you to hear about it firsthand from my perspective. So thanks very much for tuning in, and have a great Valentine's Day. Really hope that you get a chance to share the weekend with those you love. I know that I have some children who live far away, so I got my little packages in the mail today, but I'm certainly grateful to have the weekend to spend with my husband and my family who's in town. Thanks very much. Bye.